How's it going, everybody? I know it's been a very long time since I did my last song ranking video when we covered all the songs from the classic series. Now it's time to rank all the songs from the hit era. These were just a tad harder to rank as most of these songs are pretty similar. But I think everyone can agree, in this particular era, you've got bangers, some that are and ones that are just terrible. This is going to be fun. And just as a friendly reminder, these are all going to be based on my personal opinion. So, let's begin with some of the worst songs, starting with the most pointless, H is for Harold. What even the fuck is this song? Why did they find it necessary to even make another song about him? The song is just barely about Harold for starters. I feel like I'm sitting through partial of an alphabet song. F is for friendship, G is for good. I got a few words that begin with STFU. We already have a much better song about Harold than this piece of garbage. And for the record, Harold hardly even makes any appearances between 8 and 11. And when he does, they are very minor speaking roles or cameos. A real waste of a character if you ask me. If this was trying to outdo the original, then it failed miserably. And this is coming from someone who doesn't have the classic song as a high ranking, but would rather listen to that than this trash. We really didn't need this. The next of the worst songs is the Narrow Gauge Engine song. I don't understand this song at all. Everyone pretty much agrees that the guys at HiT really messed these characters up, because small engines equals small children in their eyes. Portraying them as childlike and also screwing around with their original personalities, and then giving us these out-of-the-blue crappy ones, was just... no. I used to somehow like this song when I saw this off the Engines and Escapades DVD, and good God, it has not aged well. The lyrics to the song sound very lazily written. The one verse that really bothers me is this line.
The Soldier's best kept secret, who people hardly know.
What? They've been around since season 4. How are they considered a secret? Oh, look at us. We live in the hills away from all the nut jobs on Sodor. Oh, whoopee. I also have said that I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Mr. Percival. I am aware that these engines had a narrow gauge controller in the books, but I don't care for him personally. I liked it better when they were under the control of STH. Honestly, this song just doesn't make a lick of sense. Such a stupid interpretation of once greatly written characters. Here's another one that is just as stupid. Togetherness. It's a song that focuses on two of the most mistreated characters, and that is Edward and Henry. Even in a song, they make these two not only sound very basic, but mind my saying,
pussy farts.
Henry worries about being late due to his freight? Since when? And apparently Edward thinks he's getting too old. Duh, he is old, I think he knows that. What makes this even more annoying is that there's no variety throughout the whole song. It's the same lyrics over and over again. But that's where most of these songs lie, unfortunately. They're all very repetitive within the lyrics themselves. Some are okay to listen to, and some are just blandly dumb. Ones that sound like this dumpster fire. What else can I say other than this is a total waste of a song, and it's a horrendous representation of two characters that honestly deserved better than this. Up next is a very related song, A World Around You. I am so sick and tired of this song! This is pretty much HiT's version of the Island song, but heavily dumbed down. A big difference is, the Island song is actually good, and this one sucks. I cannot for the life of me stand the kids singing here. It's annoyingly bad. I do get that the kids aren't really at their full best throughout most of this era, but this song alone just rubs me the wrong way. Especially this line.
Shut the fuck up!
I guess the only small positive note I can give this is that the clips they use for the scenery are pretty, but that's all I got. Again, at least the Island song makes me cry happy tears. This one makes me cry in agony. Okay, I'm done now. Get me away from this song! So, those were all the worst songs. Now we're gonna move on to the mediocre songs. And there are tons. starting with the Dream song. This one is very, very weird. I keep forgetting that this song even exists. I'm kinda glad that it wasn't in the final cut of Calling All Engines, if I'm being honest. This would have, I think, sent up a ton of raised eyebrows, not just from kids, but from the parents. I mean, when you really dig deep into this, the song is quite dark. A little too dark for Thomas standards. These engines are pretty much scrapped of their former selves and turned into everyday things, all because a freaking airport didn't open. That's a bit dramatic. Carnival boards, a playground, a scarecrow, a goddamn roller coaster. This just depicts the humans as if they don't care what happened to the engines. Hell, even the children. It's kind of disheartening. And bear in mind, that was only 4 of the engines. Can you imagine what they probably would have done to Thomas, Henry, Toby, even Emily? Just thinking about that makes me way more uncomfortable about the final line of the song.
For all of these engines, it's the end of the line.
It really seems like a lot of fans keep forgetting this song exists, and honestly, good. It's not the worst song I've heard, it just exists. I just don't see the appeal in it, and I think it's way too dark for a Thomas song. And next up is Emily, one of many songs that tries to describe a character to the best of their ability. Did this one work? No, because I feel like what the lyrics are describing about her is half-assed when you actually see what kind of character Emily actually is. She's apparently misunderstood? Oh, really? Since when? Things turn out wrong when all she meant to do was good? Well, if that's the case, then why does that give her the excuse to act like a bitch to everyone? Bossing engines around, impolitely blowing her whistle or wheezing steam at others, not being patient. Do you see where I'm going with this? She causes her own misery by doing the things that she does. She is in no way misunderstood. Oh, and let's not forget this one. You want some sound advice? Just go to her. Yeah, I don't think I will, especially when the broad causes a big accident, and you all know what episode I'm referring to. And here is my favorite out of the bunch.
Friendly Emerald Emily. Ha!
I've said this time and time again, but Emily sucks as a character in the HiT era. She did have a few moments, but a majority of the time, she's very unlikable. I find it very hard to resonate with a character I really don't like. Especially when her personality is misinterpreted in a song to how she actually is in the show. That's something that cannot go unnoticed, and it just doesn't fly with me. Next up on the list is Together We Made It Happen. This song is so blandly generic. I don't really hear too many people talk about this one. In my opinion, I think it's one of the weakest songs from Calling All Engines. Basically describing that this is what happens when everyone puts aside their differences and works together. Oh look, kiddies, Thomas grew a pair of balls and asked Diesel 10 for help. And that in turn made the engines use their big brains, and they all helped one another to get the airport finished. If that doesn't sound like the most commonly generic kid song, I don't know what does. How many more times can they seriously shove the working together moral down everyone's throats? We get it already. Plus, it's not even remotely close to being catchy, and don't try to tell me that it is, because it isn't. I can't think of anything else to say other than put this one in the forgettable pile. And next up is Strength, another one that is really nothing special. It's not even the least bit catchy, go figure. Basically describes that you need strength in order to do your work. Yeah, real good to know. I think we all picked that up very quickly. Gotta make sure we're really strong for when we pull a very heavy express or lifting up an engine, am I right? I need strength just to pick up a friggin' stick, for Christ's sakes. And I also needed to get through this bore of a song. I really don't know why the guys at HiT had to make such boring songs like this. Hardly anyone even talks about it. This is another that you might as well toss in the forgettable pile. What else is there really left to say about it? Next up on the list is Something New. There's really not much to go on about this one either. It's another very bland sounding song. All it is just an excuse to introduce us to some of the newbies, like Rosie, Freddie, Molly, etc. But what's there to like when not a lot of them stuck around? Neville and Freddie went AWOL after season 12, which is kind of a good thing since they did have potential to be good characters, but were completely wasted. Jeremy and Molly disappeared after the Great Discovery, which kinda sucks because I liked Molly as a character and I really wish they did more with her. Dennis is a friggin' asshole, I'm glad he didn't stick around. Rosie and Rocky are literally the only ones that have been consistent in the series, and even then, Rocky has made way more appearances than Rosie has, which I think says an awful lot. I don't know, this song is just nothing to brag about, honestly. Another one thrown on the pile. Coming up next on the list is Ode to Gordon. Most of you have already heard millions of times by now that I'm not the biggest fan of Gordon. Sure, he may have some golden moments, but overall, I don't like him as a character. When the song tries to describe who he is, once again, I think it's half-assed. The lyrics are so vague that they're not really telling us what we don't already know about Gordon. Yes, we know he's big. Yes, we know he's the fastest. Yes, we know he's blue. But I don't give a damn how loud his whistle is. Why did I need to know that? Give us something new. And why a march, of all pieces? If Gordon is portrayed as a fast engine, a march really isn't that fast. You would want something to sound a little more of his speed, would you not? Not something you'd hear in a parade, for God's sakes. And there is another reason why I don't care for this song. Back in the day, it was so overplayed in my house by my brother that it just became extremely unbearable to listen to. Now the kids' voices go right through me. It's just a horrible interpretation of Gordon, and I feel like they could have done so much better. Next up we have Surprises. I've mentioned this time after time, but this song doesn't click with me. I have given this song multiple chances, and I still don't see the appeal in it. I don't care for the short, I don't care about the longer version. It's just another bland song that exists. Okay, I lied, back it up a sec. Going back to what I said from my Songs from the Station review, there was one little part that I thought was cool. Not necessarily for the music, but I did think these lines were cleverly written.
A day of no surprises, maybe dull and flat, 'cause no one knows what's down the line, you can be sure of that.
But with that said, even that minor little thing is not enough to save this for me. Overall, I just don't care about it. Next on the list is The Work Song. Now, I was never a huge fan of the Jack in the Pack series to begin with, and it should say something when the songs are even less interesting than the episodes on the Pack DVDs. There was a time when I did like this song, and after a while, I forgot it existed. Yeah, go figure. And after I listened to the song a few more times, it really didn't make a difference. Personally, I don't care about anything to do with construction. Kind of explains why I'm not interested in something like Bob the Builder anymore. I don't feel anything with it. Maybe a positive thing I can give this is that the instrumental is a bit beaty, but that's about it, really. Otherwise, as I'm listening to the lyrics, I'm just like, yeah, alright, whatever. Yet another song I can totally live without. Next up is Jobs Aplenty. I don't know what it is, but I'm always very conflicted with this one. One minute I like it, the next minute I don't. I think a partial reason for that is my brother, who would constantly rewind the song, and after a while, it was irritating to listen to. What am I seriously listening to, though? An engine working song? Or fucking 1-2 buckle my shoe, cause that's the kind of vibe I'm getting off of the instrumental. I guess the only other nitpick I've got is, I feel like you really didn't need a song to describe what each job the engines were assigned to do. You could have easily figured out how to write that in the story without having to drag it out. Maybe someone would argue that it was done to help the pacing of the movie, which, okay, I guess. I personally just don't think it's that great of a song. But for anyone who thinks otherwise, rock on, do you. Coming in the next spot, we have What Makes an Engine Happy. I can totally understand why some people may not like this song. I never picked up on it before, but upon re-listening, I do have to agree that the lyrics do sound very baby-like. It's like the song itself is trying to talk down to kids with very little attention spans just so they can get it through their heads that these are the kinds of things that make engines happy or sad. Hey kitties, splashing paint on someone makes them sad. Oh, I've run out of water, I'm so sad. But if I do my job and I please the fat man, then I'm happy as a clam. I don't know if these are the right words for what I'm about to say next, but is it wrong that I have a bit of a guilty pleasure for this song? By no means am I trying to say that this is good, but I don't think it's that bad compared to the ones I just previously explained. If this was paired up with something like Emily or A World Around You, I would totally pick this one any day. The most I can really rank this is that it's borderline mediocre and okay for me. And speaking of the okay songs, let's talk about some of those. Starting with probably the most annoying song according to fans, the Engine Roll Call. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, but the kids in this just have that way of going right through you. They really can't sing for shit. I'll bet there's a ton of you thinking, why isn't this song much lower on the list? Honestly, as annoying as it is it really the most awful song you've ever heard to come out of Thomas? I personally don't think it's great, but it's not the worst. Obviously the instrumental is a bop, preferably with no lyrics. And as far as the edited version of the song goes, I don't pay them no mind. I think the Calling All Engines one is the worst, and the edit with Stanley is fine, but it really wasn't needed. This song is not perfect by any means, but for me, I can at least tolerate it to a very, very small extent. Next we have One Friendly Family. I know this is the other song from the pack DVDs, and while I did say I don't care for the work song or the series as a whole, I will say I'm kind of okay with this one. The lyrics may sound a bit sappy to some, but I don't think it's nearly as tight compared to some later choices, and the instrumental is okay at best. I think the biggest complaint I have is how they keep trying to shoehorn the names of the entire Steam team. Can we do everyone a huge favor and stop fucking doing that, please? I'm absolutely tired of the way the characters are just forced into a song, especially in places where it's not needed. It's not overly amazing, as I've said already. It's not completely terrible. It's just a very mid-okay song. And next on the list is Where Oh Where Is Thomas? I feel like this one is a bit overlooked. I know it's not one of the more faster-paced songs, but you don't really need that in every single Thomas production. Now, I'll admit, the song itself isn't really sing-songy, and some of the lyrics are a bit silly. And while thinking about it, it does seem to slow the pacing of the movie down by the teensiest little bit. Had they maybe cut this song from the film and maybe put it as a deleted bonus song, maybe that would have worked out a little better. Now, despite these nitpicks, I still kind of like this song. Some of my favorite shots that they use are when Thomas is in the mine. It's so amusing to see him just spinning around in the water and somehow hanging on for dear life. Not a perfect song by any means, but you know, it's not the worst one either. Coming up next is the Sound Song. For a Thomas song, that has got to be one of the most basic titles you could ever choose. However, the title doesn't make it a downfall, and the onomatopoeia within the song is cleverly woven into the lyrics. Rattling rails, clattering carriages, wheeshing, whooshing. It gives you that vibe of listening to an actual steam train. It's not like the song took a complete 180 and has no real meaning behind it. It's purely about steam engine sounds, and that's about as good as it's gonna get. That's why I believe it is one of the rare hidden gems of the HiT era, even if it stands as another okay one. Alright, so now we're gonna start talking about the good ones. And next on the list is Buffer Up and Share. Okay, I know this is probably gonna be a controversial pick, but hear me out. Call me silly all you want, but I've also got a guilty pleasure for this one too. I know that it sounds generic as you can get for a Thomas song, but truthfully speaking, is it really the bottom of the barrel of all the songs? I personally don't think so. Some people may complain that the lyrics once again are sappy sounding, but why does that automatically make it a bad song? You know, some of the sappiest of songs are not always bad. I mean, the song generally describes to kids that if you team up with your friends and share your work, then it'll make yours and everyone else's lives all the more easier. It has a very similar vibe to something like That's What Friends Are For, and I don't see anybody complaining about that, so I don't want to hear nothing about this one. It's not one of the best songs I've heard, but I don't think it deserves to be treated as one of the worst. Next up is Favorite Place. I feel like this song is way underappreciated. This was a very rare one to catch on TV at the time of the PBS Kids airings for me, and whenever it did come on, I was in awe. The song itself really sticks to me personally because even though there are times when I like to be with my friends or sometimes my family, a majority of the time I like to be alone, in my own space, to relax and do whatever the hell I want. It's something that I began to pick up on when I was roughly around the age of 10, that sometimes I don't want to be near other people, especially in this day and age a majority of the time. One tiny little thing I've got to nitpick at is while some of the places described for the engines are a bit questionable, it doesn't take away the fact that this is still a genuinely cute song. Definitely a relatable hidden gem. And next we have Pride. For a while, I was very mid with this, and it was another that I never cared for originally. But recently, I found myself appreciating this song a lot more. I think the message for it is pretty clear. To take pride in whatever it is you might be doing. I am trying to reflect on this a little more, as most of the time, my pride levels are usually way down. I struggle a lot personally with second-guessing myself, practically all the time. So to hear this line, to do your jobs with care, love, and pride, it's a reassurance to me that everything will be okay so long as you put a lot of care into your work. In the long run, this has actually helped me out a lot. From my personal standpoint, I do think everyone should listen to this if you haven't already. If you're someone who struggles with similar issues as I can guarantee you this song will help. In the next spot, we have Busy, one of the most catchiest earworms in Thomas song history. While I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Calling All Engines, I have to admit, a few of the songs were really good. This one in particular is very fun and engaging to watch as the engines rush around getting things together before the visitors come to Sodor. If they really wanted to, they could have easily just written all of that out into a boringly paced dialogue to drag out the beginning even more. But thankfully they didn't do that, and instead gave us this bop of a song. It's catchy, excellently placed to speed the pacing up, just everything about it is great. One of the very few things that was good to come out of this movie. And just missing out on the top 10 is Brave Little Engine. Now if anybody remembers, back when I did my top favorite Thomas songs list, this song was my overall favorite above everything else.
Yeah, I know I was drunk. I don't know what I was thinking.
I really don't think this song is that bad, to be honest. I know some people might complain about the fact that it's a little too slow, but truthfully, I like that it sounds, once again, like a march. I think this style, oddly enough, fits Thomas. One thing I will say I wish they did was explain in the lyrics more of what makes Thomas such a brave engine. I get what they mean by how he knows what needs to be done and he can be a good leader, but that's really nothing to go on about. I definitely feel like they could have done just a little bit better with the lyrics. But overall, I don't have anything else to nitpick about it. I love the calm, slow pacing of the instrumental. I love the shots that they chose for Thomas. Just a really, really good song. Now we have reached the top 10, and kicking off this part of the list is Every Day's a Special Day on Sodor. I sense this one is gonna be yet another controversial placement. I think this is one of the songs that is very overlooked. In a way, I sort of, keyword, sort of, get an island song vibe off of this, but obviously nowhere near as good. The instrumental is genuinely one of the most calming ones from this era I've heard in a long time. And even some of the footage that they use with the changing seasons is captivating. The only tiny nitpick I've got with this one is I wish they explained a little more as to why each day is so special on Sodor. But overall, I can't get super mad at that. Some people may or may not agree with me on this take, but so long as I like it, that's all that really counts. Next up in the 9th spot is Day and Night. I know some people complain that this sounds like another generic baby-sounding Thomas song, but there's just something about the simplicity of it as to why I really like this song. I'm not over the moon with the lyrics per se, but the instrumental sincerely slaps. I love listening to the combination of the drum, cymbal, and trumpet in certain areas of the song. Just listen to how awesome this sounds. Got really nothing else to say, really, other than I think this is truly one of the better sounding Thomas songs from Season 9. In the 8th spot, we have Patience is a Virtue. I know there's a ton of people that well and truly don't care for the song. Some say it's boring, it's a nothing song, you don't feel anything after it. Mind my saying, but I think the reason behind that is because if you're a person with very little to no patience, then you're not going to truly understand the full meaning of the song. I explained in my songs review that I was a very impatient kid years ago, but after I heard this song many years later, I've tried to reflect on that in my adult years. As I've said, this song is pretty straightforward. It's letting the viewers know you don't need to hurry around doing whatever. Just take your time and don't rush. I think it's pretty clear that HiT, sort of in a way, knew that kids can be very impatient, and this was a simple message they were trying to get across. Again, as I've stated, if you're someone who has very little patience, then I think you may need to listen to this another few times. It may do something for you in the long run. And next in the 7th spot is Thomas and James Are Racing, one of the best musical scores in The Great Discovery. I'm pretty much going out on a limb here by saying I do think this is one of the best HiT-era Thomas songs. 2 some odd minutes into The Great Discovery, and we're already going this hard. The song didn't need to go in with a bang, and yet it did. Even its placement into the movie helps to pace out the beginning until pulling back a little afterwards till the next song comes up. The song itself is also very well shot. I'll bet the guys handling the models had such a fun time filming this scene. And to even add more to this, I don't think the kids singing are half bad. They're actually tolerable for once, which I think speaks a lot of volume. An overall very catchy, fast-paced, fun bop of a song. Coming up next in the 6th spot is Navigation. Look at that, another rare one, and probably another controversial pick. Yes, I know the song sounds very basic with the whole getting to know your navigation thing until you get to your destination, yada yada yada. Once again, I'm not super crazy about the lyrics, but I don't really pay too much attention to them. I'm more interested in the deleted shots they use and the hardcore sounding instrumental. The saxophone solo doesn't need to sound as good as it does, and the drums really help to pick it up a notch too. Don't believe me? Just take a quick listen. Seriously, why do some of these songs suck so bad, but most of the instrumentals rock? I would love to know why. Overall, I wouldn't call this a hidden gem, but it is definitely an underrated one. Go have a listen to this if you haven't already. It is a bop. Now entering the top 5, we have Trying to Do Things Better, the standout song of Calling All Engines. I know some people probably have said Together We Made It Happen is the best one. Hell no, it's this one without a doubt. Right next to Busy, the song goes in hard. It's not as fast, but I do like the slow pacing of this one. I like how the drums and cymbals in the instrumental really emphasize certain lyrics. We need oil. We need coal. I love that little extra bit. Oh, and can I also say that the freaking guitar solo in this is amazing? You'll hear these kinds of solos in some other songs, and man, do they sound great. It gives me goosebumps every single time. Same as the saxophone. Overall, definitely a top-tier Thomas song. In the 4th spot, we have Party Time. Yet another of the very rare ones. I didn't get to hear this song so much even with the airings, but I remember the first time I ever heard it, I was jamming like nobody's business. The instrumental is once again hard at its very core when it doesn't need to be. Some may even argue that, yet again, the song within the lyrics is repetitive, especially in the chorus. Honestly, who cares? The song is such a bop, and it's one of the very few times they tried to make a hit song sound bouncy and fun and at the very least, engaging. I know I can't change everyone's mind on it probably, but I think it deserves to be in a top 10. Up next at number 3 is Doing It Right. Another that doesn't need to go as hard as it does, and does it anyway. The kids aren't nearly as bad here as they are in many other ones, but what really carries out this song, no duh, is the instrumental. Even if the song itself is another one of the slower paced ones, it still has a very nice, steadily catchy beat to it. The number one thing that absolutely gives me chills, oh look at that, the saxophone part in the extended version. Also, like Pride, Patience, and a few others, I like to think of this song as being motivational. Whatever you're doing, make sure to do your best so you can come home and know you did everything right. Just an all-around great song. And next in the second spot is Determination. Another song that has absolutely no reason going as hard as it does. And yet again, here we are. I cannot tell you how many times I have jammed to this song. When I first heard this off of songs from the station, it easily became one of my favorites. It has no business sounding this good between the instrumental and the kids not sounding bad at all. It's phenomenal. One final time, however, in terms of the nitpicks I've got, not all of the footage seems like it would fit into certain places. Some clips they use don't exactly fit what is being described in the lyrics, but if you can look past that aspect, it doesn't ruin the overall song. I mean, this is HiT we're talking about. Are we even going to pretend to be shocked? It's not like they did put a lot of thought into most of these. But bottom line, this song is truly one of the greats. And that just leaves us with one more song, and I think you all know what it is. The best song from the HiT era is Thomas, You're the Leader, as if it wasn't obvious enough. Now, I know this song is overrated. I know this song can be overplayed. But in reality, it is the best song to come out of this era. It doesn't even compare to half of the songs on this list. Yeah, it's a rap, and we've never seen a rap-style Thomas song before, but it was done in a way that was the perfect send-off to the model series. Pretty much a summary roundup of some of the biggest characters in the show for one last hurrah, if you will. I can even tell you that from the first time I heard this off The Great Discovery, well, duh, why wouldn't it be a favorite? Again, we've never heard a rap song done with Thomas, so this was something fresh and new. And I really appreciate the fact that there are no kids singing in this. I feel like it wouldn't be nearly as good if that were the case. Need I remind you that it most certainly is not only the catchiest, but it is also one of the most contagious earworms for a Thomas song. Seeing as how this was the last model Thomas movie, The Great Discovery really needed to go out with a bang. And you know what? They did. I honestly don't think there's any other song that is more worthy to be the best of the HiT era. And there you have it, folks. That is my new rank list for all the HiT era Thomas songs. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my choices, and feel free to tell me some of your favorites. I'd love to hear them. But until then, I will see you all in the next video.